Again, basically, to really perhaps position data visualization and storytelling in the overall data analytics process here, okay, that links data to actual value. And in this process, we can observe three key steps, okay, to driving value from analytics, okay, data, then information turning into insight, leading to decision and actions, which then ultimately enhance value in terms of firm performance, for example. So like a chain reaction, each step plays a role in driving towards value. Okay, and this is important. It starts with collecting raw data to serve as the foundation for gaining knowledge on a subject. So let's have a look into this process in particular. Okay, quickly, because this is not the main focus here of this module, but I want to show you where we could position data viz and storytelling in this process and where it becomes crucial potentially. So the first step, of course, is the data. And I won't go into detail here, but of course we have today multiple sources of data, okay? In marketing, we often relied on surveys, okay? Or focus groups or interviews, okay? We have a couple of those primary data collection methods. Today, in the era of big data, we often have data already available that we can extract or export elsewhere, or there's open data as well. Okay, so data sources today are big, small, and in many cases open as well. In terms of quality, okay, there as well, it is important that your information is potentially complete, accurate, okay, up to date, for example. So there are different questions about quality. Data should be reliable and valid from different perspectives as well, and it should be relevant. Okay, so you want to have data that somehow leads and then really kickstarts this chain reaction here. In the second step, okay, we then link data to insights, okay, where we turn data into information, which then leads to insights. And there are a couple of approaches as well, okay, of course, and we often refer to that in terms of data analytics and approaches that exist in terms of diagnostic analytics, descriptive analytics, predictive analytics, and prescriptive analytics. Okay, so there are a couple of really interesting methods that actually, as a marketing analyst or data analyst, we can seize and use in order to ultimately turn data, raw data, into an insight. Okay, and here's already a first step for data visualization and storytelling. Okay, data visualization and storytelling represent aspects of a larger analysis process that we go through to convert data into action and ultimately into value. So obviously, before you can communicate an insight, you must find one. Many of the data compositions we create help us or others analyze data and pinpoint meaningful insights. Okay, and this is actually where data visualization and storytelling already somehow interferes. Okay, so I label this step here story framing. Okay, data viz for story framing. With story framing, you distill down the vast amount of data to a more targeted set of key metrics and dimensions. By limiting what data is focused on and choosing how it is visualized, you frame the potential stories that can emerge from the data. So story framing is primarily focused on providing useful information to an audience, which may or may not translate into meaningful findings. Okay? The audience could be you. The audience of the story of this first data visualization process can be yourself, okay, in the process, because pictures will tell us much more than just the data in tables. Okay, so sometimes it's useful in order to see where is an insight, okay, where is something actionable in that, something new. for example, as well. We can use first, not really polished ones, but use first data visualizations. Okay, so data viz for story framing is here one first aspect. Okay, the second step then, of course, is insight. What is an insight? Okay, I just mentioned already one key component that is actionability or actionability. Okay, so what's an insight? An insight has to contain new information. The information has to be new, relevant, and non-trivial. Second, an insight must focus on understanding consumer behavior. We're marketers, right? So we're in the context of somehow marketing in this setting. An insight has to quantify causality. An insight has to be about cause and effect, because as marketers we need to a lever to pull, right? Something to do to effect a change. An insight needs to measure how a change in one variable impacts a change in another variable. An insight has to provide a competitive advantage. An insight has to be a piece of intelligence that a firm's competitors do not have. All intelligence is based on awareness of some information, and an insight provides intelligence such that the firm is in a better competitive situation. Insights must generate financial implications. An insight should be measurable. Okay, first, whether a return on investment or contribution margin or risk assessment, there should be some financial implications with any insight, right? Why your audience should care about the issue, right? If there is not a measured increase in revenue or satisfaction, or a measurable decrease in expenses, for example, the validity of the analysis should be questioned. Okay, it's always the question, so what? Okay, what's the effect? And why should your target group care? Ultimately, an insight is about actionability. All of the above here, okay, drill down to one thing: actionability. If an insight provides this actionability within the dimensions we see here on the slide, it is providing marketers with what they need to make better decisions. If these decisions are based on data, then the chance of making the right decision, or an informed decision as well, increases. Then we move over to the step here between insights and action. Okay, so the job of an analyst is to provide insights. Okay, so the comments here attempt to put structure around the defining of an insight, providing more than a mere observation, in the hopes that executives will actually use the analyst's output and make better decisions. There is a utilization gap that the CMO survey that is run, I think, twice a year by colleagues in the US. This utilization gap in analytics is still important within firms. And something that can overcome this gap is, again, data visualization. And this time it's data visualization for storytelling. Okay, because here storytelling, the objective, the goal of a story, of telling stories based on data, is to instill action. Okay, so to push your audience to make decisions and take action. Okay, so what I did here, as you compare that perhaps to the story framing link I've shown you between data and insights before, I have only two icons here for data visualization, to just say that it already drills it down from perhaps a large set of visualizations for story framing to a smaller set, in order to say, okay, here we focus on the key insight now. Okay. Yeah, and then what is perhaps the final step here is analytics and firm performance. And there is quite some research and some publications, and mine with my co-authors, one of that, where we find that actually big data related capabilities such as analytics account for up to 13% of firm performance variance.